Oh, folks, you're wonderful. This is a lot of fun. Let's a couple more that we better wind down. Way in the back there, sir.
Yeah, in protecting the salmon.
Protecting the salmon.
I hear all the time there are roughly 3 facets of life that get blamed: logging, farming, and of course mining. Never do I hear anyone talk about the gill nets on the feather or the Klamath River.
Or the predator fish.
I don't hear anything about the protected sea lion that kill the salmon by the millions as they come through the mouths of the river. And I don't hear anything about the foreign trawlers that are scooping the salmon up, netting the salmon by the millions. And I don't hear it from the Republicans either. Why is that?
Well, you've sure heard it from me for years. That's been a long time battle. As a matter of fact, we used to be able in the late 70s and early 80s to defeat what were then called in-stream regulations, but no more. Over the decades, that's been considerably eroded. But we did have Judge Wenger down in the Central Valley just for about the first time that I can remember, made a federal judge made a decision that humans have water rights. In those years, when I was kind of growing up in water battles, the first call on water was human, then agriculture, then business, commercial, and other things. Well, now 1 through 3 are critters and fish. But that was a significant decision by the federal judge. But the battle is still far from waged, and they always ignore these other issues. Nobody wants to talk about that because it's better to make the scapegoat our businesses, our farmers, those who recreate, our fishermen. That's the enemy. Same thing with the guns, folks. People have a kind of distorted view of who the enemy are. No, we have human beings on this population. I do believe that human beings have a right to inhabit this planet, be able to live, to have livelihoods, to have rights to their water. They're not farmers in the Siskiyou or anywhere else in California because they put in a siphon pipe or pull up a dam that they're going to lose their water right because they might endanger something that was never there anyway. Oh, this is a battle that's got to be joined. And I take some comfort. There are some victories. There was Judge Wenger's decision was a victory. I saw another hand there.
Why don't we enforce laws? Like I was an employer for 25 years. We filled out an I-9 form. I think that's what it was. That's what we call it. Immigration paper. We call it immigration paper, just what it was. But I was never checked, and I don't know of any employers that were ever checked that had these bills. Like if everybody was checked for their employees with these I-9 forms, we wouldn't have the trouble we have today.
Well, part of it would be how do you have enough people to enforce it, but I think one of the points that I made, and Whitman has said that that's something we have to make the employers more accountable for. And that has been a part of prior immigration reform law, and it will become a part of any other future immigration reform law. More penalties and more requirements on employers.
But it took labor to fill these bills out, and that's the appreciation they give you.
Say that again.
On our part as an employer, it took the labor to get these I-9 forms.
Yeah, you have.
They never utilize.
They never give. Yeah, you go to all the effort to comply with the law, and then they never even check it. Well, frankly, that's a whole lot of most of what all businesses required to report is never used, except to prosecute you or to fine you. And in fact, these reporting things, I was dealing with some in another bill just a few weeks ago. And I read these reporting requirements. This is wonderful, it's good government. No! What this reporting would have done is set the employers up in mass for class action lawsuits. The reporting that was required was crafted by legal attorneys, to build classes so they could, all the work would be done by you to identify your employees who they could put in a class and sue you and a whole other class of similar employers for. Now, I've been around long enough to know where and when that happens, so I took it on. That happens a whole lot, folks. Sure does. Way in the back.
The gentleman mentioned.
Bruce Ross, how are you, sir? We've got the record searchlight here with us tonight.
Speaking of water resort, there's been talk about pulling that water line off the ballot. I wonder if you think that's a good idea.
Bruce, the water bond is, the governor has made a decision that that should be placed on the 2012 ballot. And as far as I'm concerned, that's fine. I would argue that that water bond at best has a 45% chance of passing right now because of public sentiment about spending in government in part. Some of the polling showed it down as low as 31%. So to those who would really want it to be passed, I would suggest that that's probably a prudent position to take. But there's a little side problem with this. This will have to be voted on, if it's going to happen, by the legislature when the legislature reconvenes. I am certain that environmental groups that had these egregious provisions in the early version of that bill that I and others participated in getting negotiated out, OUT, including creating a Delta Stewardship Council that would have been the literal dictator of water in California, all water, with enormous powers, vast powers, unbelievable, breathtaking powers. Well, I believe as a condition of moving those bills to extend it, they're going to demand concessions and demand new powers and authorities of the Water Resources Control Board and the Department of Water Resources. And frankly, if that is the play, leave it on the November ballot and let it go down, is my position.